It's the 29th of the 1st, 2025. The time is 5 minutes past 10, and we need to talk about all things F1 news and updates, for there are a very many F1 centric thread at which we need to pull this morning. We'll talk about Merc, we'll talk about Mario Andretti chiming in on the chances that Aston Martin follow through on the oft espoused rumour that Maximilian Verstappen will sign a $1 billion contract with Aston Martin as soon as 26. So too we'll talk about Honda potentially sabotaging that whole Operation No endeavour. And finally, last topic on the docket, we'll talk about Scuderia Ferrari and all things testing, for there are a couple key things that they're keen to focus on as far as the performance of that car and the way in which the car interacts with both of their drivers. Mercedes, first topic on the docket. No official reveal. It will be digital, online only as far as the W16. The next day after their reveal, the W16 will undergo its shakedown test at the Bahrain circuit. Mercedes' decision to adjust its plan this year has been influenced in part by the timing of the F1 official launch F175 in London, which will be a livery launch only. Logistics constraints, therefore. I read this as a former Mercedes fan and think that they might be hiding their light under their bushel. Lest we forget, however, that would be a mistake of Christmas past. W13, you remember my reaction on here. Oh my gosh, Mercedes are going to be champions again. They have no side pods. There can be no drag on that car. I'm not sure, therefore, we should read too much into this as F1 fans and community. Oh, and by the way, Mario Andretti, the legend, champion of 1978, has chimed in on the rumour that Aston Martin are seeking, flirting their eyes at one Max Verstappen. Mario Andretti, legend, had this to say: I know for a fact that Aston Martin would love to have themselves some Max Verstappen. Why? Because I would. There is no greater guarantee for success than to surround yourself in Formula One by good people. How does Mario Andretti know this? Because he's worked with Adrian Newey and holds the same opinion of him then. Superimposing that thesis onto Adrian Newey, saying, of course, recently that the best car needs the best rider. They're going for it, aren't they, Aston? And everybody knows this. I think Mark Hughes was onto something yesterday in his article, that something is afoot in Formula One. Christian Horner seen coming out of the Aston Martin motorhome at Abu Dhabi. They're talking, aren't they? Where there's smoke, there has to be fire in Formula One. And it's all fun and games at the moment pre-season. Oh, and by the way, you'd think that Honda would get online, that the Aston Martin right hand would be talking to the Honda engine manufacturer left hand. However, they were quoted recently saying something different, weren't they? ARS Technica journalist Jonathan Gitlin asked Koji Watanabe, head of Honda Racing Corporation, how's that engine manufacturing project going ahead of 2026 new rules and regulation? The response was thus from Watanabe: not easy. Excuse me, sir. What are we doing? How very dare you sabotage the operation that is Aston Martin signing for soon-to-be five-time champion one Max Verstappen. Koji Watanabe continued: we are struggling. Now we are trying our best to show the true result for next year in 2026. But everything is brand new. Honda Racing Corp head now showing concern. Now we know he's not the only one. That the challenge for all engine manufacturers is humongous. Material. Christian Horner's come out and said bringing everything in-house is a massive advantage for Red Bull, but there will still be challenges. Beset on both sides is their path to silverware and championships. And we're not just talking about Honda, are we? We're talking about Red Bull, Ford. We're talking about Mercedes too, Scuderia Ferrari. However, some would say, aficionados, paddock insiders, that Mercedes and Scuderia Ferrari are expediting for their learning curve better than the other 8 teams. But I digress. Oh, and by the way, talk about Scuderia Ferrari because there's a brilliant article by Autosport where they talk about all of these things. Here's what we know. It's getting techier than techie things. Let me set the table thus. Chinchero again, legendary Italian F1 journalist, said that he's concerned as to how Charles Leclerc will react, that no longer is he getting the most attention as far as mainstream PR and media. This is Lewis Hamilton's foray now. You saw that he was breaking records, 4.6 million likes on Instagram or whatever, unprecedented settings as far as an F1 post. How will Charles Leclerc be reacting to that in real time? Open, non-rhetorical question. I don't know the answer to that, but this will be different. Variable change for Charles Leclerc. How he reacts to that, him being embedded for the longest in the team, and then sees how the team are reacting and talking and being with Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton. How will Charles Leclerc react to that? Are his shoulders broad enough? Does he have the requisite minerals to no longer be the centre of attention? And so too, I'll see that and raise you this. Scuderia Ferrari. I think Charles Leclerc, that Ferrari, as at the first month of 2025, I think that Ferrari is the house that Charles Leclerc has built, is now, always has been over the past 3-4 years since he's been driving for that team. However, it looks and feels a little bit different now, doesn't it? This feels a little bit like the house that Lewis Hamilton will build even by dint of the interaction and numbers on social media. And I think there is a question. But more pertinently, can Ferrari build themselves a car in 2025 capable of winning races and therefore championships? Here's what we know. Testing. First test at Barcelona, the Circuit de Catalunya, happened at Tuesday. There will be 3 days of private testing, so no photos. Hamilton did 89 kilometers at Fiorano last week. That's nothing. Now he will have more freedom. He will get more miles in. There will be greater scope. We know in the most recent testing session that Lewis Hamilton had issue with his brake pedals. Ferrari will have fixed for those ahead of this test, and that's not an insubstantial project there. The FIA regs around TPC testing of previous cars means that now Lewis will get 1,000 kilometers less the 89 that he did at Fiorano. Testing at Barcelona will be under the supervision of one Loic Serra, the last tyre bender, man who's previously worked for Pirelli, so he will be more accustomed and acclimatized closer to the Pirelli, the temperamental handling dynamics and warming them up optimal temperature window of those very mercurial tyres than most people. The testing at Barcelona will be under the supervision, therefore, of Loic Serra. So keen are Scuderia Ferrari to get their hands around the dynamics of these tyres and the way in which they interact with their car, chassis, aero map, suspension too. What does that remind you of? What did Lewis Hamilton struggle with last year in qualifying, particularly? The tyres. Oh, and by the way, the tyres aren't going to be a like for like to what they're using in 2025. There will be academy tyres, but that doesn't mean there won't be lessons to be learned. Not the same, but similar. Here are the lessons. It will be all about this testing session at Barcelona. It will be all about tyre behavior and the way that the tyres interact with the car, a function of strategies to warm them up on the previous lap and get them in the optimal temperature window, trying to expedite for that, understand the line of least resistance. So too, they will hone the strategies to do that based upon what's going on in the previous lap. So too, as a second topic on the docket for Ferrari at testing, measuring the wear over the course of a stint, a proper race stint. You'll know that this has been a battle that has determined many a victory in 2024. The ability to mitigate for tyre wear over the course of stints. Third topic on the docket for Ferrari Scuderia is as follows. They will need to make sure that these cars can get good starts. You remember that in 2022, I remember that car was super quick, rapid each and every single time. But word on the F1 curb, if that's something that you can be invested in, was that there was something fundamental about the handling dynamics of that car that meant that it couldn't get good starts. And the oldest truism in F1 history is that races and therefore championships are decided on milliseconds now. So you can't afford to drop starts. You need to be able to consolidate your position after putting it on pole. Exactly the thing that Lando Norris was unable to do last year. And some say was the principal hurdle, the failing even of his World Drivers' Championship campaign. Fix for the starts, something fundamental. Here's what Autosport said about the starts and how they're going to try and fix them this week. Electronics experts will continue to refine start strategies. The clutch must be manually managed by the driver, but how the power is delivered to avoid loss of grip can be the result of perfect power delivery from the combustion engine and the combined action of hybrid system, which only activates over 100 kilometers per hour. Scuderia, pronounce it properly, Cameron, is thus preparing to fine-tune details that could make the difference in a season where the red car aims to be competitive in the fight for both world titles. Every detail and attention to them, therefore, will be key. Remco says, well, Honda did say they want to be more focused on the electric engines, but it's chaos, Remco. How very dare they say that? They're trying to sign Max Verstappen in real time. Surely you want to say, oh, we're doing fantastic. I don't understand why Watanabe said that. If they decide they were getting rid of blankets. 2026, I think. Or maybe they've already got, I don't know. I'll have to check that. But total. Hope the rumoured Nissan takeover doesn't crimp the HRC efforts. I don't know what's going on. My God, so my views that Charles will handle Lewis Hamilton the same way that he did with Vettel. We'll see in time. How very dare you, Nando. But again, it's not the most unlikely outcome, right? I don't even want to get into my 40-year-old bag. Jack Brabham, Fangio, Giuseppe Farina. It's techie what Lewis Hamilton is trying to do. But again, Mr. Unprecedented Settings, right, holds as near as makes no difference. All the records currently as at January 2025. If there were anybody to do it, to beat a fire-breathing dragon, modern day journalist is Charles Leclerc. He has a name, surely. And his name is Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton. What are we doing here?